Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. Just to make sure you're all in the right place, this is the Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. We'll reconvene open session. It's 1907 hours. This is our September 17th regular board meeting. These meetings are televised on Channel 28 Wednesday evenings and Saturday morning. You can watch them right next to the funnies on Saturday morning. Just be advised that your image can be captured on the cameras and the audio and visual within the room. The room's wired for sound. And as customary, we're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance, and we're honored to have the esteemed principal from Altamont Creek, Tara Adderman. If you're going to come up and introduce our presenters.
Thank you. My name is Tara Aderman, and I'm the very proud principal of Altamont Creek, and it gives me great pleasure this evening to introduce our amazing Wildcats from our kindness crew. These students give up their lunch period several times a month to plan events that promote kindness on our campus.
Please stand.
Right hand over your heart.
Eyes on the flag.
Ready, begin. Ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done.
Good job. Beautiful. Make eye contact.
I think that was the best job anyone's ever done.
That was a great job.
That was amazing.
Awesome job. Give me buzz.
Thank you very much. That was great job. Great job tonight. You guys did a great job.
Great job.
Great job, buddy.
I like it.
I know we have a packed house tonight. It's just a matter of some basic housekeeping. In case we were to have to leave, we would just leave kind of organized. There's some exits in the back corners, one over here on the side, and then back to the entrance that you came through. If anyone has to leave during the meeting for any reason, or use the restroom facility, they're right across the entry. There's bathrooms over on the side. The agendas are posted throughout the meeting on the overheads. You may have grabbed a copy on the way in. I'll try to keep just give you the heading so you know right where we're at if you're following along in the meeting. All actions were at 3B. And so we're coming in from closed session. We get here around 6 this evening, and we had any closed session. Any actions we take in closed session, we report out. With that being said, I'd ask our clerk, Mr. Rogie, to report out any actions we may have taken.
Mr. President, we have no actions in closed session.
Thank you, sir. Okay, coming into just 3D is just meeting procedures. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our primary focus here is on the education of students within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During our meeting, you, our members of the public, will have the opportunity to share information, voice ideas or concerns regarding the business and matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During our discussion of each agenda item, you have the opportunity to speak to that item. And if the topic you would like to address is not on our agenda, it's not mandatory, but we'd ask you to fill out a tan speaker card. They're located in the lobby. And then hand those in to the folks right over here at our audio-visual stuff, and they'll pass them around. If you'd like to speak to something that is on our agenda, fill out a light blue card, and it's the same process. When you come up to speak, we'll call you up in no particular order. Make sure that the little button on the bottom of that microphone is hit, and there's a little green light that's illuminated, and then a timer will come on your screen there, and you'll see it, and it's for 3 minutes. We ask you to keep within the 3 minutes. That just kind of keeps the meeting organized, polite, and then also it gives us the opportunity to keep things moving along. If you get to around the 2.5 mark and it sounds like you're still going pretty good, I'm not being rude, but I might kind of just prompt you to say you've got about 30 seconds. That way you can kind of finish your point off. Again, these meetings are televised. I believe they're on at 7 p.m. on Wednesday evenings and 9 a.m. on Saturday mornings. And so with all the housekeeping taken care of, we're going to go to Section 4, and this is changes to our agenda. And I'd ask our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, if there's any changes.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually have no changes to the agenda this evening.
Then we get right into our recognitions.
Wonderful. So this is our favorite part of the meeting, and I'll ask Mrs. Tara Ademan, the very proud principal of Altamont Creek, a state of California green ribbon school, to return to the podium. She will be honoring and recognizing a very hardworking group of dedicated teacher leaders who help her in the task of taking the school to the very next level instructionally and in every other way.
Thank you. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I am Principal Aderman, and it is truly an honor to recognize the Altamont Creek Instructional Leadership Team this evening. I continue to be impressed, challenged, and inspired by the expectations of this team and the expectations they have for our staff, with the goal of ensuring high levels of achievement and opportunity for all of our Wildcats. Standing here with me tonight are the colleagues I turn to for problem solving, support, and stress-relieving laughter. In an article about happiness in the workplace, Harvard professor Rosabeth Cantor found that the happiest among us are those who are solving the toughest problems and those who are making a difference in people's lives. Solving problems and making a difference is what this team is all about. Under the leadership of this team, the Wildcats have been recognized as a Kindness Certified School twice by the California Department of Education. We're one of 5 schools to receive a California Green Ribbon recognition and will be recognized this fall by the PBIS Coalition as a bronze level school. We've made significant gains in reducing the achievement gap with all of our student groups and continue to inspire and motivate our Wildcat community. Without a doubt, this group of dedicated, passionate teachers inspires me to be a better educator each and every day. They've made a great difference for all of our students and our staff. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize them for their tireless efforts to make a difference in the lives of our students and our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you all. Nicely done. Thank you. Nicely done. Nicely done. Thank you. Always great work. Thanks. So Dr. Bowers, there might be a few people here for the next one.
I think so. So next I'll ask Mrs. Melissa Leedy to come forward. She's our Director of Human Resources. She will be recognizing and honoring certificated and classified staff in our school district who are reaching a very important professional milestone. And I see all their fans and paparazzi and all of the people here to support them, so thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Bowers, President Bueno, members of the board and cabinet. We have a packed house today, and I'm so proud to be able to introduce all of you to our board and congratulate you on achieving this milestone of permanent status within our school district. Because there are so many, this I think is a record, the most we've ever had, and we're very proud of that, and we're proud of all of you. When you hear your name called, I'd ask that you stand. And then when the next leader comes up, you can take a seat. And at the very end, we'd love all of you to come up and shake hands with our board members so they can congratulate you on this milestone. I will start by introducing the district office staff members and who have achieved permanent status, starting with the bond office. We have Tina Gerlach. Please stand. Thank you. Craig Lemos, Kim McNeely, and Jill Skilitani. Congratulations, you guys. From Business Services, we have Jamie Archer. Congratulations, Jamie. From Information Technology, we have Avi Sarani. Avi, there he is. Payroll, Miss Ann Wells. And I think that's it from the DO. We're going to go ahead and next introduce Miss Carla Estrada Hidalgo from Vineyard Elementary and High School. Miss Estrada Hidalgo, is she here? There she is. Yep. And all of our administrators, please come on up for when it's your turns, your school's recognition.
Good evening, everyone. I have two teachers today to recognize. I have David Chang, who was unable to attend this evening, as well as Gretchen Reynolds. Is Gretchen here?
Up next, we have Mr. Tom Jones from Sunset Elementary School.
Good evening. I'd like to recognize Abra De La Torre, Elizabeth Heaney, Sashi Sadasavam, Buster Young, our certificated staff Shannon Acevedo, Sarah Knowles, Kelly Mackey, Alyssa Solit, and Mary Weisnick.
Up next from Rancho Las Positas, we have Mr. Steve Martin.
Good evening. It's a pleasure tonight to recognize the following classified staff: Barbara Lowe, Nithya Subramanian, and Julia Yeremian. Certificated staff, Heather Carroll and Dawn Stevens. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Tammy Rankin, the principal of William Mendenhall Middle School, and I'd like to recognize Mary Babano, Madhavi Manapati, Sean Shehab, Brianna Newmeyer, and Asha Kello. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Nathanson. I'm the principal at Maryland Avenue School, and our classified people that I'd like to recognize are Laura Fragoso, Kathy Hamilton, Maria Presario, Christina Reichkirk, Kirk Schockner, Socorro Vasquez, and Ann Wigington. Our certificated that I'd like to recognize are Alice Conover and Stacy Malakis.
Hello, I'm Helen Gladden, proud principal of Livermore High School, and tonight we're recognizing from our classified staff Robert Baswell, Patricia Papazian, Suzanne Sheeran, and Joanna Westrop. From our certificated, Mary K. Brown, Robert Carpenter, I know he's there, Mirko Danilovic, Tyler Ilsing, Karen Fletcher, Jeffrey Gladstein, Amandeep Kangura, Karen Shackelford, and John Wade. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm the principal of Lawrence Elementary, and it's my pleasure to congratulate the following certificated staff members who are able to join us this evening: Mrs. Patricia Antilla, Mrs. Muriel Burns, Mrs. Shannon Higgins, Mrs. Anna Johnson, Mrs. Melanie's not joining, Mrs. Laura Morgan, Mrs. Tracy Pearson, Mrs. Kelly Silvera, Mrs. Emily Waffler, and Mrs. Christy Weist. Congratulations, Labradors.
My name is Matthew Hart. I'm the principal at Granada High School. I'm proud to acknowledge these teachers who have achieved both permanent status in our district and also permanent status in my heart. Michael Bynum, Kayla Lynn Danino, Boosie Ellis, Michelle Gaski, Bryce Head, Haley Jeffries, Allison Noble, Eric Rashid, Carly Sierra, and Robin Taggart.
Good evening. My name is Misty Guzman, and I'm the principal of East Avenue Middle School. And with me this evening, celebrating their permanence in Livermore District, are two fabulous teachers, Rafaya Rashid Ahmed and Viba Singhal.
My name is Eric Taylor. I'm the proud principal of Del Val Continuation High School, and this is I'm Dan Musselman, Vice Principal.
So we're the proud administrative team, and we'd like to recognize the following people for their classified, sorry, for their classified permanent status. So Jessica Mann.
Sunny Soto.
And Roxanne Taylor.
Good evening, Kendra Helsley. I'm the principal at Croce Elementary, and I'm honored tonight to recognize Leticia Gonzalez, Christine Gorolchenko, Alexandra Hall Pinner-Lee, Shannon Langendorf, Stephanie Murray, Donna Ryan, Karen Spergassi, Jessica Webb, and second grade teacher Danny Small.
Good evening, I'm Brian Charman. I'm the Vice Principal at Christensen Middle School. We're here to celebrate our classified staff, Jose Bahia, Adewale Olapade, and Senthamalar Ratnamathakan. Our certificated staff here with us tonight, Michelle Apodaca, Melissa Giorgio, Drew Kirian, Dr. Diane Mukherjee, and Heather Zishka.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Giti Esmond. I'm the proud principal at Arroyo Seco. I would like to recognize our classified staff, Ms. Cheryl Bishop, Ms. Nora Rodriguez, Ms. Adrienne Smith, and Ms. Carol Watts. And from our certificated staff, Ms. Christy Verbeck and Ms. Paige Zingraf.
Thank you so much. From Altamont Creek, our classified staff, Shandana Banerjee, Linda Cisneros, Sandy Francisconi, Elizabeth Gutierrez, Kelly Marana, Radha Padala, Monica Sharma, Tiara Sproul, and our certificated recognitions tonight are Keegan Finley and Trisha Head. Thank you.
And I am back again to rectify a mistake I've made. I overlooked one of our best classified staff members, Jessica Calkins at Vineyard Alternative.
As I said, I think this is the largest group of staff we've ever recognized at a board meeting, and I am beyond proud to welcome you to our school district. If you could all please stand one more time. And in an orderly fashion, we want to applaud all of you together collectively because we are so proud to have you here. And if you could please make your way around, our board members and our senior cabinet would love to congratulate you and welcome you.
And please bring those proud kids that you brought with you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome to the permanent family.
Thank you. Your daughters are lovely.
Welcome.
Thank you.
They
So
want
much.
to come up and shake hands with everybody. Welcome to the
Thank you.
permanent family. Welcome to the permanent family.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To the family.
I love the team.
Yeah, we're all a bunch of dogs.
Labradors.
Welcome to the family.
Labbies.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
family. Welcome. Welcome to the family.
Nicely done. Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you very much.
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
the
Nicely
family.
done. Thank you.
Welcome
Nicely
to the
done.
family. Welcome to the family.
Nicely done. Thank you.
Welcome
Thanks,
to the
hon.
family. Can you give me
Thank
a
you.
bump?
Nicely done.
Can you give me a fist bump?
Nice job. Nice T-shirt. I like that.
Welcome to the family. Give me a bump. There you go.
Thank you, honey.
Give me a fist bump. Awesome. Good job.
Thank you, honey. Thank you.
Give me a fist bump.
Thanks.
Good job.
Nicely done. Thank you.
Good job.
Hi.
Welcome to the family.
Nice job.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
family.
Thank you. It's okay. It's just a hammer. It's an apple.
Welcome to the family.
Congrats. Nicely
Welcome to
done.
the family. Welcome to the family.
Well, you're kind of young to be a teacher. Maybe one day.
Well, you can teach
Nicely
me to
done.
do one of these. All right. Welcome to the family.
How are you? I'm doing very well myself. Thank you for asking.
Bring you one of these.
Hi.
All right, good job. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
Here we go. More
Welcome to the
labbies.
family. Thank you.
Nice teamwork.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
You guys have been through once already.
Oh, there's more of us.
Nice teamwork.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
Hi. You proud? Yeah. It's a good night.
How you doing?
What's up, big guy? How are you?
How about one of these?
Hi. Congrats.
All right. Welcome to the family.
Congrats. Nice job.
Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
Congratulations.
Welcome to
Nice job. Congrats.
Welcome to the family.
Congrats. Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
You and your sisters look very nice. Look real nice today. You proud of your mom?
Welcome to the family.
Yeah, I saw you smile out there. Nice job.
Give me one of those.
Hi.
Give me
Congrats.
one of these. You guys are all wearing the same dresses.
How are you?
All right.
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah. Hey,
Give me
congrats.
another one.
Nice.
Missed. 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 Oh, you got
It's a
it.
good night.
Welcome to the family.
Good night.
Hey, welcome to the family, you guys.
Yeah,
Welcome
it
to
is.
the family.
Shake your
Hey,
hand.
thank you.
Congrats.
Give me
Yeah.
one of these. Just, all right.
Congrats, man.
Thank you so much.
Nice job.
Welcome to the family.
Congrats.
Welcome to the family. Thank you, sir. You guys are Livermore, right? All right. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Good night, huh? Congrats.
Welcome to the family.
Congrats.
One of these. All right. Thank you. Welcome to the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job.
Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. Glad to have you.
Well,
We'll be over
it's a
Thanksgiving.
good night.
Welcome to the family.
You're proud, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah. Nice job. I can't read those. The print's too small. You can still see it.
Give me one of these. Bump. Bump. Good job.
Congrats.
Welcome to the family.
Hi.
Now
Congrats.
everybody can buy us over Thanksgiving.
Oh, look at you.
Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family. You haven't been here 5 years.
It's one.
Good night, huh? Thank you.
Well,
Congrats.
welcome to the family, but you're off from the other.
Congrats.
One of these.
Yeah, thank you.
Come on, you gotta get. Come on, come on, come on. There you go.
Hi, congrats.
Oh no, no.
Oh, no.
Welcome. To
I
the
work with my
family.
hands all day. I usually have a shovel or something. You doing all right?
Welcome to the family.
Good night. Hi.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi. How are you?
Give me one of these.
Doing well?
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
the family.
Thank you. Thank you. Congrats.
Welcome to the family. You guys all set to finish out the year and are great. Finish out the year. We just started the year. Yeah, I guess. It is so good to see you. Welcome to the family. It's sundown. It's sundown. We were sundowners, right? Not sunsetters. That's right. Thank you. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Pretty good?
Welcome to the family.
Thanks for having me.
Proud of you.
How are you? You're pretty young to be a teacher.
Fire alarm.
You a teacher? Is that why you're here? Not a teacher yet? Okay.
Give me one of those.
Doing this again.
Thank you.
Come on, let's do it right.
Thank you.
Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
And we are going to adjourn until 1945. That's special request. We're going to reconvene a little bit early, 1940 hours. We're going to start off with our student board member reports. This is an opportunity for from our two comprehensive high schools where people from their leadership come in and they represent their school interest, and they come in here and give us a little bit of what's going on at their school. Tonight we're going to start with Livermore High School. Radha Shri Dharan.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. Livermore High hopes everyone had a wonderful weekend and is getting ready for some fall weather, as we had a little rain shower on Monday. Excuse my nasally voice. Fall allergies is a thing. Livermore High School is currently underway with all of our fall festivities that we host each year, and many of our students are hard at work with various tasks at hand. First up, sports news. Last Friday, our varsity football team won their game 88-3 at an away match. We are currently 4-0 in our league. Our boys are getting ready for another fun game this week at home at 7 p.m. Make sure to come out and support our team and cheer on with our cowboy spirit. Sean Smith, a junior at Livermore High School and a varsity football player, was recognized through TV 30 as our Athlete of the Week. Girls soccer has been promoted to D1 due to the new NCS competitive equity rules and the Lady Cowboys' recent success over the last several years. Campus life. We hosted our second annual Belly Flop Fiesta, yes, that's a thing, last Thursday, and the winner received a hydro flask, and that was Dylan Cole. PBIS, Positive Behavior Interventions and Support, is a system that is being adopted district-wide. The elementary and middle school programs are already up and running. The high school programs began today, September 17th, with training. LHS sent their PBIS team comprised of 10 staff members to this important training. PBIS emphasizes school-wide systems of support that include proactive strategies for defining, teaching, and supporting appropriate student behaviors. Traditionally, school-wide discipline has focused on reacting to student misbehavior with punishment. PBIS emphasizes teaching behavioral expectations and rewarding students for following them, rather than waiting for misbehavior to occur before responding. The goal is to create an environment in which appropriate behavior is the norm. LHS is excited about the implementation of this system. September 27th will be our Breast Cancer Awareness Pink Out football game. Save the date. We sold 229 shirts last week, raising $1,550, all going towards Stand Up to Cancer. We will be having a Google form posted on our school website shortly this week as families and friends of a loved one who have survived breast cancer, currently fighting the battle, or whom we have unfortunately lost during the battle can be recognized on our digital board on the scoreboard next Friday. Seniors had senior picnic last Monday at Little Hills Ranch in San Ramon, and it was a huge success and a great bonding event for the class of 2020. They started off the day with their panoramic picture and ended their fun-filled day with a picture of the students forming a number 20. As always, our campus modifications are slowly but surely underway, and Cowboy Nation is always grateful for the amazing changes coming our way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now with Granada High School, Riley Mora.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. My name is Riley Mora, and tonight I speak on behalf of my peers at Granada High School. Granada High School has had an exciting past few weeks. Homecoming skits are very important to the students at Granada, and every year hours of memorizing, choreographing, and collaborating go into the construction of them. As themes have been finalized, weekly practices have commenced. The unity within the individual grades is quite apparent. Not to mention, homecoming tickets are now on sale, which only adds to the spirited nature of Granada's campus. Another exciting event for Granada was the arrival of 11 exchange students from Madrid, Spain. These students brought a kind of liveliness to the campus as they shared stories about school and social life in Spain and the differences as well as similarities they recognized. These students even shared an informative presentation with Granada students about Spanish culture, which included facts, dances, and songs. In the spirit of college application season, Granada seeks to guide and inform seniors about their options. This past Friday, many Granada seniors had the privilege of hearing guest speaker Mrs. Maji describe her career path to the media company Warner Bros. This week, representatives from Boise State, University of Arizona, Oregon State, Arizona State, and the University of Pacific will visit Granada's campus to provide students with information on the unique opportunities at their respective universities. In summary, Granada's campus is in high spirits right now as the sun is still shining, well, disregarding the little bout of rain yesterday. Homecoming is approaching, and seniors are recognizing just how significant the potential reward of their hard work may be. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicely done, both of you. We're going to move into Section 7. This is our employee associations. And this is a time for the leadership, the elected leadership of each of our bargaining groups to come forth, tell us a little bit about what's going on with their membership, give us some updates. This evening, we're going to start off with our CSEA President, Mamie Kristovich. Green light.
On? Oh, sorry. Start over. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and cabinet members. My name is Mamie Kristovich, president of CSEA. This past July, I attended the 5-day CSEA annual conference. Our theme this year is Facing the Future Together. You may not know this, but CSEA came together in 1927 when a handful of custodians in Oakland started this union. Today, CSEA is the largest classified employee union in the nation, representing over 250,000 classified employees throughout California. This was my third conference, and each time I am in awe of the magnitude of CSEA and all that we represent, as attendance was near 2,000. We elected association officers, adopted our annual budget, and worked on resolutions, in addition to hearing speakers like Paul Chavez, son of Cesar and Helen Chavez. CSEA is dedicated to improving the lives of its members. This year, in addition to grants, subsidies, and scholarships, CSEA is offering free online associate degrees with no out-of-pocket costs to members and their families in partnership with Union Plus and Eastern Gateway Community College. Once an associate degree is completed, students can continue toward earning an online bachelor's degree through the CSEA low-cost bachelor's degree program in partnership with Central State University in Ohio. In Livermore, I will be looking to mirror the good work of our great union by once again offering local scholarships and looking into providing grants to our members. Last year was very productive, and this year, with negotiations on our successor contract just ahead, we will have another busy year. We hope to quickly complete our reclassification request and compensation study with the district, as both are holdovers from the last school year. One final note I would like to share. In partnership with the school district, many of our classified employees were approved to receive summer assistant benefits through AB 1808, and they were very appreciative. So thank you to Chris Van Schack and to Jennifer Arias for their hard work and support. We hear that the state is offering the same opportunity this year, and CSEA members hope the district will once again support this generous benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now coming up with our CTA, Livermore Education Association President, Kate Sorrell. I will mention also while she's coming up that SEIU President Teresa Jennings, and then our confidentials is Cindy Martinez. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, and members of the audience here and at home. My name is Kate Sorrell, and I'm the president of the Livermore Education Association. As you know, the California legislature finished their legislative session yesterday. A number of bills sponsored or supported by CTA were passed. AB 1505 and 1507 enact much-needed reforms to outdated charter school legislation. 1505 places authority to approve charters in your hands, that is, local school boards. SB 126 requires corporate charter schools to be held to the same standard as other public schools. AB 967 establishes specific LCAP requirements for charter schools. Are we seeing a trend here? AB 48 establishes a public preschool, K-12, and college safety bond, which would provide $15 billion, with $9 billion of those dollars going to PK, 12 schools. AB 1322 requires the California Department of Education to provide school-based health programs in order to provide health-related services to students. AB 493 requires educators and support staff working in middle and high schools to receive training on how to meet the needs of LGBTQ students. AB 500, I'm almost done, requires public school employees to receive a minimum of 6 weeks paid leave for pregnancy, miscarriage, childbirth, and recovery. Finally, SB 468 will require that the impact of tax credits and tax exemptions be evaluated. In the 2018-19 fiscal year, these exemptions resulted in a $7.3 billion loss to the general fund and a $2.9 billion loss to education. So, on behalf of the counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment, I ask that you contact Governor Newsom and ask him to sign all of those pieces of legislation, because without his signature, it's not going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to move into Section 8, which is communication from the public. Communication from the public is the time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on our agenda. We, the board, may listen to the comments and may ask staff clarifying questions, but we will neither discuss nor take action at this meeting on items that are on the agenda, and this is in accordance with the Brown Act. If you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now would be the time to do so. I have no tan cards, and if there is any, then I'd just reiterate, if there's any are coming up, that it's 3 minutes, and you get to speak once. So we have none, so we're going to move into our formal communication. Formal written correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before this meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at our following meeting. Electronic communications received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education with all fields completed and verified will be treated as formal written correspondence. And with all that being said, I'd ask our clerk, Mr. Rogie, if we have any, and if so, if you'd please summarize.
Yes, Mr. President, we have 3 pieces of correspondence. The first, California Department of Education, School Facilities and Transportation Services Division. 2 pieces of formal board correspondence received via U.S. mail. The CDE notified the governing board that it has approved the final plans, new buildings and modernization plans for East Avenue Middle School, project tracking number 61200-97. Jennifer Leday, formal board correspondence received via email. Ms. Leday, Alameda County Safe Routes to Schools site coordinator, invited the board member to participate as VIP guests in International Walk and Roll to School Day on October 2nd from 7:50 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. She stated that Altamont Creek, Arroyo Seco, Jackson, Maryland Avenue, Rancho Las Positas, Smith, Sunset, Christensen Middle School, East Avenue Middle School will be participating this year. Alameda County Office of Education, formal board correspondence received via email and U.S. mail. Alameda County Superintendent of Schools, L. Karen Monroe, notified that LVJUSD Board of Education that in accordance with the Education Code sections 52070 and 42127, the Alameda County Office of Education has reviewed the 2019-2020 Local Control and Accountability Plan and adopted budget of the LVJUSD. Based on the review, both the 2019-20 LCAP and adopted budget for LVJUSD has been approved. Superintendent Moreau acknowledged and shared her appreciation to our district staff, our board, and our community for continued diligence and hard work. With that, that's the final for correspondence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move into our information discussion items, and I'll ask Dr. Bowers if you'd introduce our first one.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll invite Mr. Chris Van Schack, our Deputy Superintendent, to present the attendance report summary for 2018-2019, and this is for information only.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bowers. Board trustees, it is my honor to provide this report this evening, which is really part 2 of a report I did at the last meeting, which had to do with enrollment and staffing. And so In that report, we talked about how many students are at each school and the staffing that goes with that. And tonight we'll talk about the rate at which the students actually attend school every day. Wait for our folks to catch up. Thank you. So quick topics for the evening. We'll talk about the importance of attendance, which I think is a repeat of things that we've heard before, but I think it does bear repeating. Our district attendance data and our efforts to improve the data as we move forward. And so, again, I think this goes without saying, but we know that attendance, especially in the early years, is critical. And this graphic shows that of the students who are chronically absent in kindergarten and first grade, 83% of them are not reading at grade level by third grade. And we know that those who are not reading at grade level by third grade are 4 times more likely to drop out before they complete high school. And we know that the results of dropping out of high school are catastrophic for both the individuals and for our community. So I think it goes without saying that attendance, especially in the very early grades, is absolutely critical to student achievement. Both statewide and nationally, here are some factors that have an impact on student attendance. And there's political climate, there's weather, neither of which we have a lot of control over. There's illness, and there's school safety. And you may think, well, we don't have that much control over students who get sick, when in fact, kindergartners on average, according to the CDC, get 12 colds a year. And so by teaching our kindergartners to wash their hands well, we can reduce that by 50%. So that can increase their attendance. And I think the illness and school safety are the two over which we really, the majority of our student absences are a result of illness. I think we do a great job with making sure our students feel safe in school, and I don't think we have a lot of students who stay home as a result of that. So illness is really the primary reason for students missing school. And I want to make it really clear, we are not advocating any parent ever send their kid to school sick. Again, according to the CDC, on average, students get colds about 4 to 6 times per year. And so if we assume that about 50% of those happen on school days, because there's 180 school days a year, which is about 50% of the total calendar days, about 2 to 3 colds per year, which results in about 5 sick days. And so if we assume that just on illness alone, students will miss about 5 days on average per year, that's about 3% of the school days. And so I just think it's important for us to note that 100% attendance should not be a goal, because that means we're encouraging parents to send their students to school sick, which is not the case. And that has obviously an impact on many students besides just the one that shows up for school sick. So as we look at this graphic, I think it's really critical to see, far right-hand column is our attendance rate. Top right-hand corner, 96.5% plus for elementary, 96.6 for middle, a little over 95.4 at high schools, and an overall district rate of 96.28. So I'll go back to my comment from just a second ago. If the average student during a normal year misses about 3% of the school days due to illness, that would be a 97% attendance rate, so that would be sort of a target for us. We're at 96.28, which means we're getting pretty close to full attendance from the perspective of making sure kids are healthy when they come to school. So really, when we look for measures to improve our attendance, we're looking to decrease that gap between 96.28 and 97, which would be kind of a target. And just to give you kind of just a perspective on that, statewide, the attendance rate is about 94.7, 94.8. So we're doing much better than the state. You can also see, if you look at this chart, that our attendance rate went down just a little bit last year. Second number from the right at the bottom, 96.5 2 years ago, 96.28. So, a lot of factors go into that. Again, we had some smoke days last year, if you'll recall, resulted in some missed student days. We also had kind of a rainier year than normal, which typically results in more students home sick with colds. So we look at, this is another perspective on it, which again, when you look at an attendance rate of 96.5%, does that mean that every kid is missing 3.5%? No, what this shows is that 17% of our students, which is that green piece of pie in the upper right-hand corner, are only missing a day or two per year. The darker blue in the bottom shows that well over 50% of our kids are missing less than average. And really the upper left-hand quadrant there are students that we want to focus on. Those are students who miss more days than they would miss just based upon illness alone. And again, at the very top of that pie chart are chronically absent, which we'll talk about in just a second, which is also a focus. But I just wanted to point out that nearly 3/4 of our students are showing up just about every single day that we would expect them to. Every non-ill day they have, they're showing up for school. I think there's a perspective out there, maybe that lots of kids are spending 2 weeks a year at Disneyland. That may be true anecdotally, but that doesn't turn out to be true in the perspective of looking at the district data. Again, I talk about chronic absenteeism, which is over 10% of the school days missed per year, going back to slide number 1, which shows that the impact that chronic absenteeism can have. You can see our percentages from left to right over the last 3 years. We've decreased at the elementary and middle schools. High school went up just a little bit last year. Overall, about 6% of our students are absent 10 days or over 10% of the days each year, which is a little bit more than half of the state average, which is about 10.6%. And so we're doing a pretty good job in comparison to the state on getting students to school. But it's really a focus of our attendance, of our child welfare and attendance specialists to focus in on the students who are chronically absent. This graphic shows a comparison of the district. And so from left to right, it's TK, our kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way across. So you can see that we've got some heavier absences in the early grades, and then it bottoms out a little bit, and then it starts to increase as students get into high school. The green line is a comparison of our district to all of the other schools who are served by Attention to Attendance, which is a data collection agency, an agency that helps us in the collection of data. And so you can see that the phenomenon isn't just Livermore, where the attendance, the rate of absence goes down, and then it goes back up. So that just gives us a comparison. And I think the significance here is school districts who are involved with Attention to Attendance are school districts who care about improving their attendance. So these are already motivated school districts, and so you can see as we compare ourselves to motivated school districts, we're doing better than those are at average, but we also see trends that are consistent. And so again, a focus might be to pick out those years where students are more likely to be absent and spend some time and energy on those years. This, I think, is an interesting graphic. This is a calendar of the instructional year, and green indicates those days where attendance is better than average. The white is days that attendance is about average, and red are days where there are more students absent than on average. And you can see how well we start the school year, and then we roll into the winter months of November and December and January. You can see January with just about every day being a red day. Then we get into February, and the red days become Mondays and Fridays. And then we get into April and May, and the attendance gets better, again, absent the Mondays and Fridays in May. And so you can see kind of the trend there as we go through the year. I think you can expect there to be more absences during the winter months, because that's when typically students get sick. But I think maybe an alarming trend for us as a district would be the Mondays and Fridays in March, April, and May. And that's maybe something where we can focus some of our energy. Our efforts to improve attendance, again, paying attention to the data. Let the numbers tell us where to direct our energy and our resources. Use that data to identify, again, and reach out to families typically of the at-risk student. Kindergarten students miss, typically it's more of a parent issue, and the high school students maybe more of a student issue. Making sure parents are informed about the importance of their attendance, primarily in those years that they're learning to read, and then involving children in the solution. This is the umbrella you've seen before, which is a multi-tiered systems of support, and we use that same area of focus when we look at the multi-tiered approach to improving student attendance. You see our Tier 1, which are very inexpensive ways to get students to school every day, and those students who are maybe not meeting our expectations, we move into Tier 2, which are typically parent conferences, and then as we move up the pyramid, more focused energies sometimes involving outside resources and occasionally law enforcement when it's warranted. And again, the items at the bottom, low cost, the items at the top, high cost. So it obviously makes a lot more sense for us to focus our energies on initial recognition of students who are struggling getting to school every day and dealing with them at that point instead of waiting for them to get into the chronically absent portion of this pyramid, which is at the top. This chart shows the effectiveness of conferences. So the bars on the left are students who are beginning to struggle with attendance and are missing more and more days. You see the bars going up. And then we notify them that they will be expected to come in for a conference, and surprisingly, the attendance gets a little bit better. And then following the conference, we can see that we get it back down to an attendance rate that's more consistent with what they were before things started to kind of get out of control. And so this just shows the value of taking the time to sit down with parents, often involving the student, and just having a face-to-face conference. Phone calls are great, letters are great, but nothing really beats sitting down and saying, here are some of the challenges that your student's going to face if we can't get them to school. Are there resources we can provide you with? Sometimes it's a transportation issue. Sometimes that helps us to identify issues that they have in school with anxiety or stress or whatever it happens to be. But you can see that there's a significant correlation between meeting with students and improving attendance directly thereafter. I did want to take a moment just to recognize Mr. Scott Vernoy, who's our Director of Student Services, who he and his team were awarded the Model SARB Award last year. And SARB stands for School Attendance and Review Board. That's the group of people who come together when students get into the chronically absent rate, and they provide resources to parents. Sometimes it's counseling. There's lots of different things. But our group has done an outstanding job of meeting the needs of the most needy when it comes to missing lots of days of school. They sit down and it's not so punitive as it is supportive. And so as a result of that, Mr. Vernoy and his team of folks have been given this award, which I think we're really proud of. So that's really the information I have for you this evening. Be happy to answer any questions or take any comments that you have.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Wenzel.
Thank you for a great report. I always like the new data that comes in, and you brought up something that, well, one thing that's consistent even when I was working about Mondays and Fridays, the adults didn't show up to work either, so I don't know if there's a correlation to that when it started off early in life. You said kindergarten kids, 12 absences?
12 colds per year. That's CDC, that's their report, is that kindergartners tend to, they transmit bugs to each other, and so they tend to get sick a little bit more often than the upper grades kids.
Yeah, so, I mean, based on this, the education that goes out, I mean, back in my day, it was changing how we covered our mouth, and then it went to the elbow and stuff. So what is going forward to educate, besides telling the parents, don't, you know, this is not daycare, you got to take care of your kid at home, don't, you know, when he's ill, take, or she, don't have him come to school. And then the second thing is there a correlation with teachers in that grade that are also absent based on the amount of kids that are also more prone for illness?
That's a great question. So I'll answer the first part first, which is what do we do to help improve that? And a lot of it is information. I know it sounds trivial, but teaching students how to wash their hands and having designated times each day where they get in a line and they stand at the sink and they have a clock that counts backwards and they have to wash their hands for X number of seconds. Teaching kids to wash their hands on a consistent basis does wonders for a kindergarten classroom. We also we're probably more involved with sanitizing desks and other things. Our custodial crew knows they have a different approach for the kindergarten classrooms. And so there's that. But I think what you mentioned at first, which is information, which is letting parents know that, you know, now that your student is going to be in a group of 24, 25 kids every day, plus the number of kids they interact with at recess, please be aware of these things. And like you said, coughing into your elbow and things like that. The second question, do kindergarten teachers get more sick? The first year ones do. Until they develop their immunities and learn how to like Scotch guard their clothes, I think Yeah, that's very consistent with our first-year teachers in the primary grades. Is they spend the first year, coughing and wheezing a lot, and then they develop their immunities, and years 2 and beyond that are much better. So yeah, that's
my first couple of years teaching. I got chicken pox. I had never had it, and it was I had to go to the pediatrician because my regular doctor didn't know how to treat it. So it was quite an experience. So I can definitely relate.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, these things as well. I mean, and they were selling the little small ones. You attached it to the book bag.
Yep.
And they would, every so often train the kids. And I remember when my kids were in elementary school, getting in the car, my wife would say, "Okay, in your hands. Don't, bring it home. Is these colds and stuff." It is what it is. So.
And the board tonight shook 150 hands. I hope you guys have taken advantage of the hand sanitizer at your desk. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Go to Mrs. Prusso.
Yeah, I just have a question about, I was just looking at the numbers of days. So it looks like on your chart for chronic absentee is 17 to 35 days. That was on the pie chart, I think.
All right. I'll get back to that.
Yeah, it's way back. There it is.
Yes.
Okay. And then the severe absentee is 35 plus days. At what point is there an intervention? Well, I know there's interventions all along the way, but what determines like a serious, I know probably every situation is individual, but is there a number that kind of sets that off?
Yeah, when they get to the severe range, that's when we look into the SARB process, more formalized review board. When they're 10% plus, that's when we get the letters and the conferences and those things, and hey, here's some things we can provide you with. When they move into the next level, which was 20%, that's when we sit down with the panel and have a more formal review. And that's the one place where there's actually more of a sort of legal ramifications of students not getting to school every day. That's where there's a little bit of teeth to the law. I mean, California, well, nationally we have mandatory attendance laws, and parents are required to get their students to school. And if they're absent more than 20% of the time, we can move forward and have the district attorney investigate the situation. So that's probably the 20% or more, not probably, absolutely the 20% or more. That's when we get to the review board.
Okay. That was just one of my questions. And then I just want to, I know Scott's not here, but I think the numbers look great. I mean, obviously we can't reach 100% and we shouldn't try, as you said. So I think we're sitting in a good place. So to continue doing what we're doing is probably the best course. So thanks, big thanks to Scott. He didn't wash his hands apparently correctly.
Thank you very much.
He's going to
Mr. Rogie.
He's sick for the attendance report. That's great. There's irony there.
Rogie?
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but what's the error rate on our attendance, plus or minus? Bad data.
0. There's no error rate.
Absolute, yeah.
Kids are here. They're marked present. Kids are absent. I mean, I shouldn't say 0. I'm sure there's.
I was just going to say I can come up with a couple examples, but.
Well, so each teacher is required to sign at the end of the week an attendance review sheet, which says I've reviewed my attendance and it's accurate. We're pretty adamant about checking up and the attendance. We have clerical staff in the office at each of our school, and they review attendance. And if there's any anomalies there, like student got marked present for 3 periods but not for another one, that could be, it could be a cut, or it could be a teacher didn't take accurate attendance. And so they review those and they go back and look for anomalies. So I shouldn't say 0 error. I'd say 0 errors as a result of carelessness. I mean, we check everything because ultimately, I mean, as Susan will attest to, attendance is everything to us. I mean, that's how we get funded. And so it behooves us to be very, very careful in making sure that students who are present are marked present.
It's also part of our audit. So when the auditors come out, they come and they monitor for our procedures, and they also do random sampling. And so they will double check. And that's something that we have not ever had any findings or recommendations. Right? So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Mr. Wenzel.
Yeah, to your point on that, so your system's great. So when your kid is tardy, as I know, or absent, we get the phone call first.
Mm-hmm.
And so you said something I didn't know, that's not official until the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So these things get cleared up, because they have made mistakes, teachers, but then at the end of the week, you do clear it up, and I'm assuming it gets sent somewhere for accounting and stuff, so.
Yeah, and parents are very eager to clear up reported absences that weren't truly absences. So I mean, they're pretty good about calling in saying, you know, I got the phone call, said my student was absent yesterday. I checked with him, he was in class. I mean, so I think we clear up a lot of the mistakes that could happen. But you know, 14,000 students, and I'm sure there are mistakes primarily at the high school level, where a teacher's dealing with, you know, 4 different classes every day. But the elementary school, there probably aren't many absences that in a class of 24, 25, they know who's there.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. And just so you know, you made me smile. The thought of a little 5-year-old little Wenzel. We do a great job in this. I have no expectation. You know, I know that you, last year when you shared these numbers, we're at almost what we'd call maximum. I mean, I don't have any sense that there's any need to improve, but simply just carry on with the good work. I had one question on, you had a slide on the conference effectiveness, which I thought was really telling. I thought it was a pretty good slide.
Yeah.
This one. I take it that that's on a single year.
Yep.
And I'm wondering what that would look like if it was on a multi-year, because I'm wondering if the second 6 weeks carries through to the second year.
That's a great
And I'm
question.
simply just wondering how that looks if we had intervention programmatically, if that success carries through, and then at what intervals, you know, that we would have to like reiterate the point, because it sounds like it's very, very effective.
That's a great question. For how many students, when we have a conference, do we have to have a second conference?
Correct.
That's a great question.
And at what point do we have that first conference? Because if it happened in kindergarten, we might see those results. I don't know how long they last.
Yeah. That's a good question. Yeah.
Okay.
We can follow up, and we certainly have a list. We have a list of all the students we've conferenced with, and we have attendance data for all of those students. So that's something that we can say for students who were conferenced in 2nd grade, what was their attendance rate in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade? Did that stay high the whole time? How many did we have to reconference with? I think that would be a great data point to review. I'll do that.
Yeah, like if we could see it at some point, that might.
I'll get that to you guys.
Thank you very much. Nicely done. All righty, we're going to move into section 10. These are discussion action items. And if you'd introduce our first, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. For our next item, we will invite, actually the next 2 items, Mrs. Kim McNeely will come forward. She is our bond program director. And the first item is an award of contract, and she'll be providing background information first before asking for board consideration and approval.
Thank you. President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet, I'm here this evening with an important next step in moving forward with the Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex project. Staff is requesting the award of bid for the temporary parking lot project pending permit approval on this project. Just recollection for you that these are the key elements as reviewed at our June 11th board meeting. This is the meeting where the board authorized us to bid the temporary parking lot project, and I wanted to just provide a brief recap for you of the scope of that work. A graphic reminder of the location of this temporary parking lot. It is north of the baseball fields in the blue area shown on the diagram. Again, just a quick reminder of the detail of the project, again, as we explained it to you on June 11th during the the authorization process. So our next steps are for pending Board of Trustees award of the contract. We will begin contractor mobilization on this project. Construction then would be anticipated to start in October, and planned construction completion will be by the end of January in 2020. The superintendent's recommendation is that our Board of Trustees approve the award of contract for the Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex project, the temporary staff parking lot, pending permit approval on this project. I'm happy to answer questions.
If you could or would, I would take it that the plot plan that you show is probably off a large blueprint and it just got reduced down.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind maybe if there's anything on there that's relevant? It has something that's in red. I can't make it out.
This one, happy to.
I saw you straight.
And and I apologize, in the interest of time, I didn't
No, I
recap
understand.
the June meeting, but I'm happy to do that and share a little bit more with you. So what the plan illustrates is on the left side of the diagram, temporary fencing that will separate the project from the main campus. On the north and west edges, the top and the right, there will be K-rail installed that will have fencing on top of it with privacy screening to protect sort of the neighbors from incidental headlight. We will stripe each of the spaces. There will be wheel stops, and there will be 134 spaces. So this is basically a diagram that shows you those details.
Can you enlarge that diagram? Control plus.
I'm not sure. There
Yep,
you go.
there it is.
So that tells you the length of those elements.
Okay.
Thank you for the technical support.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? Mrs. Prusso?
Well, now that we have that up, the plywood screens, what does that look like?
It is actually privacy screening. However, this is the diagram that was submitted to DSA, and DSA would not approve that. So we have moved to panelized screening, what you would see sort of slats in a chain link fence as a privacy
Okay.
method. So that's actually a revision.
Okay, and then my other question is, from the parking bumpers, or where the edge of the parking spaces are, to the from the fence to the neighbor's fences, how much space is there?
On the west side, so the dimension
Yeah,
that you can see on the right is from 5 to 20 feet. The lot actually, the property fence actually angles, but the spacing is at a minimum 5 feet, maximum 20
Okay.
feet.
From the neighborhood?
From the neighbor
fences.
fence,
Okay.
correct.
That was my other question. And then at the very beginning, you said this is pending permit. What are we waiting for on that?
So we are, the part of the encroachment work that you see in the bottom of the diagram, the driveway access is off of the adjacent street, and we have to receive approval to access off of that street.
Okay. And then I just wanted to comment as well. I know that there was some controversy over this parking lot project, and I just wanted to commend members of the cabinet and Kim for working with the community. Obviously, we can't make everyone happy, but I think I'm impressed with how much we did to try to make people as happy as possible, and I appreciate that. So I think I feel comfortable with it. So I just wanted to say thank you for all that work. I know that was a lot of work. Thank you.
Mr. Rogi?
Maybe Bondini's to the surrounding houses would help. What is it?
Buntini.
Bondini, well, I don't know what
Bunt.
okay, Buntini. Bondini must be glue, I think. One of the questions I have is how many trees do we lose?
I have that for you. Give me 2 seconds, because I wrote it down so I would not misquote myself from the last meeting. We were able to reduce tree removal to 18 of 53 trees.
Okay.
And we will be replacing the removed trees 2 to 1.
Same size?
No,
Wow.
in about 15 years, yeah.
Have to wait, huh? The other question I have on this contract, is that also deconstructing after 2 years?
It does. Part of our encroachment work requires that we take all of the improvements back
But
out.
that's included in the price of this contract?
It
Or is that
is.
a secondary contract?
It would be a secondary contract, but it is included in the budget for the project, so we've already budgeted for it.
Same contractor's not going to necessarily do it?
No, because it'll be 2 years from now, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. Any questions?
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the award of contract for Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex Project, temporary staff parking lot, pending permit approval.
I second.
We have a motion by Mrs. White. It's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Need to introduce our next.
Certainly. For our next item, we will ask Mrs. Kim McNeely to stay
present at the podium. She'll be giving you some background information about prior to asking for consideration and approval of our pool of leaseback contractors that would be qualified then to provide proposals for future major work.
Thank you. President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. Indeed, staff is requesting approval of the pool of leaseback contractors qualified to provide proposals on several district projects. I'm going to briefly recap those for you. I did provide a slightly more detailed review of the scope, and I'm just going to summarize that as we speak this evening. So the projects the leaseback pool is being requested for are as follows. The Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex project. The board will recall and the community that this is a 2-story athletics building, including gymnasiums, pool facilities, support space related to the pool, and site work, including parking lot improvements. The next project is the Mitchell K-8 new classroom, gymnasium, and parking lot project. Again, a new classroom building, including gymnasium space, support classrooms, site work, removal of the portables that were placed last year as part of temporary housing on the site, and new parking and drop-off improvements. I should say these projects aren't in any particular order. This is just as I put them together. The third project is the East Avenue Middle School project. This is a new classroom building and renovation. Again, a 2-story classroom building, including site work and new PG&E service to this campus that will set us up for future improvements on the campus. The bulk of what I want to talk about tonight is really a recap of the qualifications process, because I think it's important that the community, the board is probably fairly familiar with this as we've been working on this for several months, but I think it's important that the community understand the process that this involves. As you'll recall, the board approved on June 25th our ability to solicit for proposals for projects or for qualifications for projects. This included procedures and criteria for evaluating those qualifications and proposals. We requested, the request for qualifications was issued on July 8th, and that began an extensive contractor outreach process that included publication in trade journals, plan rooms, and posting on our webpage, as well as direct contact with all the contractors that we were interested in working with or proposing. 33 general contractors were contacted as part of this process, and statement of qualifications were due on August 9th. We received 13 proposals, which we were really pleased by that level of turnout, especially in this market. And the statements of qualifications were reviewed by a panel, which included Bruce Wilkie, our Maintenance Operations and Facilities Director, bond staff, project management staff, and a partner with the architectural firm who is working on the Livermore High project. As we reviewed those proposals, they ranged in 80 from 80 to 100 pages each, and they included information like previous leaseback experience, previous aquatic facilities experience, sample construction schedules on past projects, proposed personnel for our projects, examples of cost savings and value engineering items that they had been successful with in the past, budget information, compensation information, and several other categories of information. Those proposals were thoroughly reviewed, and 7 highly qualified general contractors were interviewed on September 4th and 5th by a panel of Facilities Committee board members, including Mr. Bueno and Mr. Rogi, our Deputy Superintendent, the architect involved for the East Avenue and Mitchell projects, bond staff again, and project management staff. The interview process focused on key project personnel, past project experience, and the fit for district projects, again, among several other criteria. As a result of that process, 5 firms were recommended for inclusion in the pool this evening. So the next steps in this process are pending board approval of the pool, finalization of our request for proposals on these projects, and then issuing the request for proposals pending DSA approval and finalization of project scope. I think the interview panel is very confident that we have a well-qualified, experienced group of contractors who in our pool for upcoming projects, and we're very excited to bring them forward to you this evening. The superintendent's recommendation is that our Board of Trustees approve the pool of leaseback contractors qualified to provide proposals and additional requests for proposal scoring criteria. You will note that those additional scoring criteria are attached to your item this evening. And as a reminder, the contractors being recommended to you are Belfor Beatty, Block Construction, Flint Builders, Lathrop Construction, and Roblin Contracting. That concludes the recommendation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll begin with Mr. Wenzel.
A quick question. So when you look at Measure J, I think it's just basically for the building, it counts for the bleachers. If you go a gymnasium, what actually does it cover when we build a gymnasium? Bleachers, ventilation, doors, floor, basketball, scoreboards? I mean, or does that have to come from somewhere else? And then the second one, I look at the weight room, is it a shell and then you have to fill it with weights and then it'll have to come from somewhere else? I'm assuming that would have to come from somewhere else.
So all the projects are either a combination of existing equipment that we have, those assessments were done at the time the projects were scoped, or new equipment. In the case of both of the athletic facilities, those are equipped facilities. That isn't to say that we will afford everything that is on the list of things that people would like to have, but there is a budget allocated for furniture and equipping the buildings.
We were walking through Livermore High School and some of the equipment looked, pretty antiquated, so I'm just wondering that this is going to,
It is
say
in-
three-quarters of it
included.
could be used, fixed up.
Not antiquated, it's the way Cowboys do it. It's
Vintage.
Okay.
experienced and rough.
Well, yeah, but those two rocks in the bars.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. Prusso. Oh, good. Mr. Rogie.
I appreciate all the detail that you gave us because you answered 8 out of my 5 questions. So
That's our math program in action.
there were 3 questions I was probably going to ask, and I didn't have to ask them. But thank you very much for the detail. I just wanted you to explain it to the public, and I think that you did a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If no other questions, I'll make a recommendation that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the pool of leaseback contractors qualified to provide proposals and additional request for proposal scoring criteria.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Bueno on motion, Mr. Rogie on the second. Mr. Rogie, if you call the roll.
Yes, myself, aye. Mr. Bueno? President Bueno.
Oh, I thought you were looking at.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
That motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work on that, and I know you got big staff, and thank them. I know that's not easy. There's a lot of work into that. Moving to section 11, this is our consent items. I think we have 9 this evening. Does anyone wish to remove any? I have no comment cards on these.
I would just like to make a comment on 11.7. Again, I'm in behalf of the board, everybody gives gifts to the district. We do appreciate it. It does sometimes fill in little local needs that schools have that we don't generally always know about, but it's taken care of by different groups and different people. So again, thank you very much for those gifts from the public, and keep going, keep doing it.
Thank you, sir. I'd entertain a motion to move the consent items.
Mr. President, I move that we accept consent items 11.2 through 11.10.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogie to move all the items, seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Any discussion? Mr. Rogie, if you call the roll, please.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Let's see, on the consent resos, I think we can do all those. Yeah, we have 5. 13 through 17.
Mr. President, I'd be honored to move all resolutions 12.2 through 12.6 in the consent items.
A second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogie to move numbers 013, 1920 through 017, 1920. It's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll.
Yes, myself, aye. Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. We'll begin with Mrs., there's none that were moved separately, so we'll go into our board member reports. We'll start with Mrs. White.
I'm looking forward to walk and roll to school day. I have a standing accommodation at Jackson Avenue School to provide stickers and usually pencils or some such for the students who do walk and roll to school. Mrs. Sorrell talked about the legislation that is being supported by CTA. I don't know why CTA has not taken a list to support to not support the late start bill. I hope that you all, when you got your message from CSBA urging the governor to veto the late start bill, send him the message to veto it. It should be a local control issue. Some districts it will be nearly impossible for them to rearrange their bus schedules and their drop-off schedules to make that happen. And there must be other ways to accommodate the needs to have teenagers not have to get up so early. But it should be a local control issue, and I urge that you urge the governor to veto the measure.
Thank you. We'll go to Mr. Wenzel.
I attended a city council meeting, say no to vaping issues, tobacco. The city to uphold a stronger tobacco ordinance with Ms. Russo, President Bueno, and our superintendent. Well attended, and the city council did the right thing. 5-0 vote. Took a little pushing, but they did at the end. 5-0 vote. Back to school night at Granada, a lot of energy. Gym was a little warm, but it's good for the parents to get that little warmth in that gym. They weren't in there that long. I also attended a 9/11 ceremony. There was a guest speaker, FBI agent, that actually handled the investigation on one of the planes that were used. And probably the amazing part is we're talking 18 years now, and the attendance was fabulous. People still caring, showing their support and their remembrance. So that was very good. Also, in California school news, CSBA and ACSA partner on a federal bill to increase the IDEA funding. Okay. Congressman DeSagne, 4 years ago, we sat down and talked about it, and now I see his name on here, so he's pushing it. He's on one of the education committees. They have a long ways to go, but at least they're doing the right thing. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to Mr. Rogie.
Yes, as was stated earlier, I attended the bond meeting, a two-day meeting about looking at different contractors and their qualifications. It was almost like going to work. Then also I've been visiting various schools, football game, and taking note that I think Livermore led the way in this whole vaping issue by at least a month, now that it's become national, state, and CDC. It's sad to see that there are deaths caused because of vaping. The latest one was in the Central Valley the other day. So I'm hoping the news gets out to the students, the kids, young adults, that as cool as it looks, it can kill you. But I'm glad to see we were on the forefront. Congratulations to you guys who took the flag. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Prusso.
Since the last meeting, I had the chance to visit Christensen Middle School and visit some of the classes there, and I was happy to see the math team teaching with their standards-based grading approach. They were in here last year to receive an award for that, and it was great to see them in action. Also some science classes and watching students work on self-portraits in their art, which was really amazing. And then also back to school nights were in full swing. I visited Del Val High School, was able to visit with staff, parents, and students in the cafeteria where they ate food prepared by the Culinary Arts program. And at Livermore High, I raced around campus to visit as many classrooms as I could for my two children. Was happy to see it well attended, plenty of LinkedIn crew students to help me find rooms. And also, as with most parents, I appreciate the opportunity to be on campus, to meet my students' teachers, and develop a newfound appreciation for the thousands of steps necessary to get around campus. and also attended East Avenue Middle School back to school night, navigating the construction there as we went from class to class, and excited to see the new changes happening there. Also was able to go to the city council meeting, and happy to support the city council strong stance on anti-vaping for our community. I know that's much needed. I know it's a big problem in our schools, and I intend to continue to support them in the political campaign to come. And then finally today I was able to attend my first meeting of Leadership Livermore, put on by the Chamber of Commerce with Melissa Thede and of HR, and I'm looking forward to learning more about our city and connecting with a variety of people working, living, and leading in our city, and just to continue the next few weeks as we settle into the new year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll share the sentiments of Mr. Wenzel. I do hope that by some chance that Granada High School gets, there's some way that air conditioning finds that gym, because not quite as bad as the old Livermore High is right now, but that would be nice at some point. I want to thank CTA for the work that they're doing, our own Livermore Education Association, with some of this legislation. That's not an easy piece to look after. A lot of that is a collaborative effort and a lot of painstaking effort that's happened at the district, and it's a really good legislative piece on a lot of those measures. So thank you very much for your effort on that. Also on the anti-vaping, I was able to go to the city council meeting. That was a resolution that was done jointly, part of intergovernmental, with the school district, LARPD, and the city, all having a stake in children in a city of almost 100,000. And it was collaborative, and I know that it comes down to the city passing an ordinance, because that's the only way we can inhibit. We don't sell them, but the city can permit that or not permit it, or they can regulate it. And they're being challenged, and it's going to go on the ballot. And so it's going to be a political issue in this town. And on one side you have business for profit, and on the other side you have children and their health. And so it's just going to be a matter of how it goes to the ballot. It's going to be I think it'll be a hard-fought battle, despite the fact of it looking black and white and a very easy issue. There's a national campaign, and we were in the forefront. We were one of 2 cities in the entire country that did it, us and San Francisco. Now they're considering state legislation. Michigan as a state went against the vaping. Gavin Newsom has expressed that he doesn't want any flavored tobacco allowed in the state. So I hope that the pressure stays up, that we can protect children and do the right thing and not give in to profit or a deceptive campaign. And it's going to be difficult, because what some people may not know, for a public entity, we can give information, but once it turns into a campaign, there'll be a fundraising effort simply as a matter of just getting out your information. And so the district cannot expend district funds on that campaign. So it's going to take a lot of public input to do that. And it's going to be a challenge, because you're up against a multi-billion-dollar industry that has a deceptive campaign already going on national TV. And so it's going to be very, very difficult to counter that, despite how easy that issue and how clean that issue sounds. So thank you to the current council. I think that they were persuaded, at least a couple were, to go with the public sentiment, because there was a lot of people in the room that were saying the exact same thing in a lot of different ways. So thank you all very much. And relative to all the bond stuff that's going on, I just can't help but reiterate what a transformation this is. I coach at the high school as a volunteer for a number of years, and you get a lot of people, especially the beginning of the fall sports season. You have a lot of people that come in from out of town, people that might not have been here in quite some time. It's not our normal e-ball folks. You're getting Manteca, you're getting people from the Central Valley, you're getting people from up North County that are coming in for games for a lot of different things. And when they come in and they see the progress, they're pretty amazed. A lot of districts are struggling, and this district has done an excellent job of balancing very, very light resources to overwhelmingly transform this district for the benefit of children. So it's very, very good work. So thank you very much.
And so I too, along with all of Cabinet, attended back to school nights for high school and middle schools, and it was really exciting to see so many parents scurrying around and meeting the teachers and hearing about what's to come for the school year. Also, another highlight, we've been waiting patiently, I was impatient, but for the embargoed announcement that we could finally talk about that Livermore High is one of only 13 individual high schools nationwide to pilot the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program. So we're one of only three pilot sites chosen in California, but the other two were in partnership with outside agencies. So we were actually the only one in California that's won solely this honor. And we've received a lot of calls and congratulations as the news spreads, and other districts throughout the state are asking to follow our lead and hopefully apply in the future. And this is in conjunction with Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation, and it's working on having students recognize and be trained in helping other students to support them so that we don't ever have a mental health crisis. On Saturday at Love Livermore Live, I was honored to introduce 3 musical groups. 2 of them were made up of Livermore students. It was my first time being exposed to this group. They were rocking out. It's similar to the Element 116 jazz band, so it's a group that comes together from many schools. So we had Lawrence Elementary and Junction and St. Michael's, all the different kids in there. My favorite group was the band Sweet Viper. So these are really young elementary kids that were singing a variety of rock songs and had everybody in the audience kind of up on their feet and enjoying it. And then the money will go toward funds in conjunction with the with the Wente Arts Foundation toward instruments for students. On that same night, Saturday night, Livermore High Choir performed on stage at the Bankhead Gala with Matthew Morrison. And I had the pleasure of being there for that event. Trustee Pruso's son, Canyon Pruso, was on stage. He was front and center singing with the choir, and it was absolutely stunning and show-stopping. So it really was an amazing experience for our students. There was thousands of dollars in funds that were raised for educational visual performing arts experiences at the Bankhead, and so many of our students will get to go for free to performances, multicultural ones, and it's very exciting. And then I will just chime in about the city council meeting, that it was quite exciting to see the city council stick to their stance, their original stance with the full ordinance. So we are allowed to share freely information, and so there will be a lot more information about the dangers of vaping. There'll be a lot more information about what will be up for the voters, and what we always tell people is to be informed and then vote. So that's a perfectly fine statement, because we are up against some opposition. There is a referendum, and it will be heading to the ballot. It looks as if it will be in March 2020. So it looks like it will be coming up then. I also am looking forward to a couple other key events next Wednesday. Oh no, this Wednesday, tomorrow. Del Val will celebrate the accomplishment of 1,000 bikes repaired and refurbished from the Bicycle Repair Club. And Joe Mitchell also this Friday has the International Baccalaureate Multicultural Dance Performance, and we received handwritten little invitations from the students, so it's a lot better, I think, than an email just to get that from a student. And that will be supporting the IB program there, and also this Saturday night will be in support of Livermore Shakes, the Livermore Wine Growers Association fundraiser, which will support bringing Shakespeare into all of our second grade classrooms. So looking forward to lots of things involving our students, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. With no further business, 2048, we are adjourned.